Hello everyone, welcome back to today's session. In the last session I have discussed about document object model. So there have discussed many properties like get element by ID, get elements by tag name, get elements by class name, so on like that. So in today's session I am going to give few examples based on those properties. So first one, let us take up get element by ID. So what it does, it returns all the elements having that ID. So get element by ID means, which is a property which returns all the elements having that ID. Okay. So let us take up an example on this. It will be easier for you to understand then. So start with HTML. There I am directly starting with body without header part. Here I am taking one paragraph whose ID is. In order to illustrate ID based concept, we have to give attribute ID for any element. So have took an element has P, ID is equal to, so ID name I will take it as first, okay, and the message is MIT Mysore, paragraph is MIT Mysore, so close the paragraph. Okay. Now I have to illustrate this get element by ID. So that for that I am taking script tag. As you all know that in order, how do you embed JavaScript into the HTML document? Inside the script tag, right? So open script tag, and how you have to call this element get element by ID means in this way, document dot get, this is case sensitive, you have to write in the proper cases, get element, E should be in caps, by, B in caps, ID, I in caps. It takes ID as a parameter. Which ID? This element ID, that is first. Okay. So this property returns the elements which is matching for this ID. So it is going to return. The returned value should be stored in one variable. So I am taking var, and the variable name is I will take something like my element is the variable. So this property returns the element which is having the ID first. So it returns this, and that has been stored inside the variable my element. Next I have to print it on the screen. In order to print it on the screen, take a object document dot write. It is a method to print it on the screen. What you want to print? The content inside the my element. So my element is the variable dot. So inside this message is there, this paragraph is there. You want to extract it. To do that, inner HTML. You have to call this inner HTML property to get all the things inside the element. Now close the script. Also close the body. also close the HTML. Okay. Now you run the program, you can look into the output, how it is going to display. So, in the first line you can notice the output is MIT Mysore. After that you can notice, since you have passed first ID name as first and it is matching with this ID, finally the content of that paragraph is been assigned to another variable called my element, and then you are printing the content of my element. So, finally the output is MIT Mysore is been displayed once again. This is what get element by ID. So, let us look into few more programs based on get element by ID. How? See, here I have used one paragraph, right? I am going to change this. What I will do? I will take div, okay, and div is having ID as first. Then I will take two paragraphs here. This is MIT and this is Mysore. Finally close div. Is there a difference between previous example and this example? Yes. In the previous example I have took only one paragraph. Now I am using div element. There is a difference. Okay. For this div element I have given an ID whose name is first. So now inside a script I have passed ID name as first. Okay. So what it does, within this div element, for this div element I have used the ID name as first. Okay. So this ID has been passed, in the sense the ID having first is div. So this entire element is been returned, that has been returned, and it has been stored in the variable my element. Now using this I am going to print it on the screen. Now you can observe the output carefully, how actually it has been working. Okay. So there is a difference in the output there, whereas in the previous example I have took only one element. In this case I have used one element div only, but inside that there are many p elements. So next is about get elements by tag name. Get elements by tag name. What it does? It returns all the elements having the given tag name. Having the given tag name. To do that, let us take up an example. Body, then paragraph. This is MIT. I am going to take one more paragraph, that is, yes, I have to Mysore. Yes. See here, I have used two elements, one is having paragraph MIT and another is having paragraph as Mysore. Now open the script. I am supposed to implement get elements by tag name. Which is the tag here? P is a tag, is it right? So you have to pass tag name here. So I have to change this, get elements by tag name. So I am passing the tag name P. So whatever the thing you pass it as an argument, it has to be enclosed within a double quotes. So now in your HTML program, whatever the tag name you have passed, if it is present in your HTML program means, then particular contents will be assigned to this variable. So now what happens when you call this, I mean to say when you execute this statement, P is matching for this tag, okay, then its content is MIT. Next, it search for few more statements, is it matching for the given tag name. So now again it is searching for the given tag name, it finds one more P element, then it is Mysore. So in the same example you can notice that there are two contents having same element P. By that time how it will be stored means, it will be in the format of array. For example, this is an array of P, this is 0th index. First time when P matches with this element, the content MIT is stored in 0th index. Again it finds the matching element P, then its content is stored in another index, I mean to say next index, first index, Mysore is copied. So on like that, it searches for the respective tag in all the instructions of an HTML. So finally there are no more tags matching P, only two P elements are found. So it stops there and the contents are copied to my element. Now you want to print it on the screen. In order to print it on the screen, if you follow this method means, as you can understand that actually the contents have been stored in the form of an array, since they are having more than one element matching for this tag name. So you cannot call it in this way to print it on the screen. One changes you are supposed to do, that is my element in which index you want to print. So that respective index you need to mention. Now you observe the output, how it has been displaying. I will make the changes now. I will change it to 1. So now you can look into the output, how it is going to differ. So this is all about get elements by tag name. So next is about get elements by class name. Okay, I will change it here, get elements by class name. So it returns all the elements having the given class name. So now what I have to do, I have to change our program. How do I change? I have to use a class selector. So here class equals, class name I am giving it as first, MIT. Next, class equals first, this is Mysore. Now what I have to do? In this example I have took two class selectors of P element. This is how I have written. So finally I have to call get elements by class name. So I will change here. Class name. So what is the class name? First. So pass first, okay. So no need of giving semicolon, it is optional. Also it is permitted, no need of worrying about semicolon. So get elements by class name, you have to be careful here. In the last property get element by ID, element, okay, whereas in tag name and class name get elements, okay. So what is the class name? First. So now what happens? It enters into the HTML program, it searches for the respective class name. I got first, it is matching. So now its content is copied, and also it searches for is there any more classes matching with the class name first. Yes, it finds one more. So this one. So what happens? There are more than one class with same class name. In that case, its contents are differing. Is it right? So what happens? It will be stored inside an array with a respective index. In that way only it is going to access. Finally, the contents are copied to my variable and it is printed. So if you want to print the content of 0th index, you give the index as 0 here. Finally, I will run the program. After running, you can notice how actually the output is going to display. Now, instead of 0, if I pass it as 1 means, you can observe how it is displaying. So this is all about an examples where I have illustrated about properties like get element by ID, get elements by tag name, and also about get elements by class name. So let me take up one more example where we are using functions to implement get element by ID. How to begin? Begin from HTML. There, open the body. Yes, I am giving form tag. So enter number. So this is the program where I am going to implement to find a cube of a number. So I have to read a number. So enter number, input type is text. Okay, ID is what I will give, ID as number, and name as number. Okay, finally close the input tag. I will use one break. Okay, then button type is equal to button. Okay, and value is equal to number, and when I click on, it should call a function get cube. This is a function. Finally close button type. Now also close form tag. Okay, now I have to define a function. That is, what is the function name? Get cube. So it is a script, right? So script. How do you define a function? Use the function name as the keyword. I mean to say function as the keyword. What is the function name? Get cube. Okay. Now function where n equals, how do you read the input? Through document dot get element by ID. So what is the ID you are supposed to pass? That is number. In that you have to extract the value. What is the value? That is number. Okay. So finally that should be stored in variable called n. After that you have to find a cube and that result should be printed on the screen. Cube means what? 3 times you are supposed to multiply that number. So, I will give an statement in this way. So, finally, n cube is operated and through alert it is been displayed on the screen. So, next I have to close the script. So, close the script and also close body and also close root tag HTML. So, this is an example where you are defining a function and also implementing get element by ID property. So, finally, once we run this program, you can observe that there is a text message saying that enter a number, and also you have a text box to enter the number. If I enter the number as 5 and after that if I click on the submit button, what happens? It calls the function get cube and it finds for the matching ID, that is number, its value I have entered is 5. So, it is stored in the variable called n and 5 into 5 into 5 is computed, and through alert you can notice what actually the output we get. This is one simple program to illustrate get element by ID through a function. So, next is about how we can style the properties, like how to change the color, how to change the font size, or how to change the font family, so on like that. So, here also in JavaScript there is a provision to change the properties, I mean to say to change the styles of the properties. How that can be achieved means, let me take up one example. Say it is an element P whose ID is equal to first, okay, and the message is MIT Mysore. So, close the element P. Now, open the script. Here document dot get element by ID. So, what is the ID name? First. So, when you call this property, it returns the element which is matching with this ID. So, what it returns? It returns the content MIT Mysore. Its style I want to change. So, dot style, which you want to change the color, give color. Which color you want, you can change. I am giving red. So, what happens? MIT Mysore will be printed on the screen in red color. Next, you can also change different style properties, like I will give one more time, get element by ID first, style, it is I am changing font size. Font size here not equals, it is colon, you have to be careful. Font size I am giving larger. Yes, you change it to equals only, so it is equals only. Now, close the script, also close body, also close HTML. So, now let us run the program. You can observe the output. The MIT Mysore is printed in red color and also its size has been increased. So, this is how you can change the styles of the particular element. by using the property get element by ID and also by using the style. So, just now we have discussed about how to change an element's style. So, next is about if we want to remove one of the child node or you want to remove the first child. So, likewise in that cases how to implement those examples means we will have a look on that. For example, assume I am having one div whose ID is first. Okay. Now, P MIT, next one Mysore, next one CSE. Okay. So, now what we will do? We will close div. After closing the div, I am using I want one button type. So, take button type is equal to button on click equals I am calling function I am taking a function name as mod function, in the sense to modify the contents of div. I am going to remove some of the nodes. So, mod function. Now, close the button. On the button I want some message. So, I am giving it as try 8 and now close the button. Okay. After that, open the script. I have to define the function mod function, right? So, open the script tag. There use the function keyword to define the function and the function name is mod function. Okay. So, document dot get element by ID. What is the ID name I have to pass? First. So, that should be stored in variable. I am taking the variable name as list. So, this ID matches with this particular element and inside that element how many paragraphs we have? 3 paragraphs. So, it is a list. Now, I want to remove the child nodes. See, for this node, if I consider this as a parent node, under this it has 3 childs. Say this is in first index, second index, third index. If I want to remove this second index means how to remove from which element? List variable and then call a property remove child, open the parenthesis. How do you remove? List, okay, dot child node. If I pass the index as 2, now close the function, close the script, close body, also close HTML. So, now we will run this program. Once you run this program, you can notice the output saying that MIT, Mysore and CSE. After that, you can notice there is an button saying that try it or click on me. Is it right? Once you click on that, it directs to this function, and what this function does, it finds it searches for specific ID, that is first it has been matching with this element and it has 3 child nodes and that has been assigned to the variable called list, and then I am calling remove child property where which child node you want to remove in the index of 2. So, now once if I click on try it, you can observe the output has been changed, in the sense the node which is having second index got removed. Okay. So, this is what about an removing a particular child node. Okay. In the same example, one more modification I can do. How means I want to remove the first child in the list. So, to do that I will specify first child. Okay. The same program again I will run. So, once you run, you can notice the output is MIT, Mysore and CAC. Once if I click on try it, I am going to delete the first child from the list. So, MIT got deleted and Mysore and CAC is visible. So, this is one simple examples where you can understand the different properties of DOM object, that is document object model. Here I have listed some of the properties which are used for modifying a DOM element. That is first property, that is class name. What it does, it modifies the current value for the class attribute of this HTML element. Next is ID, the current value for the ID of this element. Inner HTML represent all the things inside of this tags. Style, so the style attribute of an element in order to change the style of an element. Tag name for the element. Href, it is an hypertext reference used to specify a URL to a link. Name, it is a bookmark to identify the tag. Source, so it is a links to an external URL that should be loaded into the page. Value, which is related to the value attribute of input tags. So, all these are the properties which can be used to modify a DOM element. So, this is all about the properties where we can use inside a DOM element. In the next session, we will discuss on JavaScript events. Thank you.